little too early. Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Technical Difficulties. I am your tech wizard, Dwayne Burke. If you're not familiar with me, I am a broadcast engineer and a Twitch streamer, and you can find me on Twitch every week, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays at the link below in my YouTube description. You can also follow me anywhere and everywhere at Burke Made if you just want to see what I'm up to all over the internet. But today we're going to be talking about the optimal settings for you for OBS. Now these settings will work in OBS or in Streamlabs OBS. So if you're using OBS Studio or Streamlabs OBS, the settings are exactly the same. The menus might look a little different, but the settings themselves will be the same. All right, so the main thing that we're gonna have to work with today is in the settings menu. Hold on, let me make sure my second OBS screen is connected so that it's not giving you guys that OBS inception. But the big thing with this is we're gonna be talking about your bit rate, your audio bit rate, your canvas size, all of the different things that are going to make it easier for you to get started streaming. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so here we go. We've got the basic OBS layout, right? I've turned off the preview because for the most part the preview doesn't really matter, but I'll turn it on so that you guys can see some of the changes I'm gonna make to some stuff later. All right, let's go to this screen. All right, and then let me add one thing just so that you can see it. Boom. All right, and then we are going to change. Oh, okay, that's not the thing that I meant to change. This is, there we go. All right, so first things first, to get into the settings menu in OBS, there's two ways to do it. You can either go, the way most people are used to, file, settings, and open it up, or OBS makes it super simple. On the control panel, you've got a settings button. Just click it. Boom, settings menu pops up. So we'll start in the first tab. We'll go through all of your general settings and then how those affect OBS and what you're going to output. And then we'll get into some of the more detailed stuff. We'll kind of just work our way down the list. All right. So when you're getting started in the general settings, language, super simple, pick whatever language you want it to be in. All right. Your theme is just going to be whatever freaking color OBS is. All right. Like that's literally all it is. And when you change it, it takes a second to switch. All right. It's not anything crazy. All right. You get a few different color options. I normally just leave it in default. Let me go back to the default because this is hurting my eyes, y'all. Okay, so you go back to the default. It's just dark. It's gray and the green. All right. Then I always keep automatically check for updates on startup, left checked, simply because even though it checks for updates, it will not install updates without your approval. So sometimes it's nice to know that there's an update to OBS, but hey, I got to go live in 5 minutes. I don't have time. So it'll let you know, like, hey, there's an update. Just, throw it in whenever you're ready. Also, the updates are very easy to read, and they break down all of the changes to OBS that you're going to see. Which is very nice because then you get to know, hey, is there this new feature that I've been waiting on? Is it finally coming to OBS? Is this the update that has it? You'll know. All right. Now going into output. All right. So this is something I always keep checked. Show confirmation dialog when stream is starting. So all it's going to do is ask you, do you really want to start the stream? That keeps you from having situations like, oh, I don't know, you're streaming and you're walking around in your towel. That'll stop that from happening. All right. A confirmation when you stop streaming, that will be helpful. Because like I have a stream deck, right? And I hit a button that ends my stream. I leave it unchecked so that I can do that and it won't ask me, do I want to end the stream? But say you want that confirmation, or say that you are using your mouse and you're clicking things down here, because where your start streaming button is where your end stream button will appear once you start streaming, and say you accidentally click it, or you're using the virtual camera while you're streaming and you meant to stop your virtual camera, not your stream, it'll keep you from ending your stream prematurely. So it is helpful, but you know, it's a personal preference thing. Now, this is one thing that I suggest if you're going to be doing edited VODs and you have a computer that can handle it. Automatically record when streaming is a wonderful setting, because what this will do is it will create a recording on your computer while you are streaming. It also helps when you're doing things for instant replay and flashback recording, which is maybe something that I'll cover in the future. It's not something that I use when I stream, but it is something that I could show you how to do. But it helps with that because you've already got the data recorded. So instead of having to hold a buffer that takes up even more memory on your computer, it can actually use the recording to create that instant replay. So it's not something that you have to do, but again, it's a nice feature to use. All right, the source snapping alignment. This is just something that all it does is it controls how sensitive when you're dragging sources around, right? So I really need to get a second mouse for this so that I can use a mouse when I do this stuff and not a trackpad. So what it does is it's how sensitive is, so you see the red line, how it snaps to the edge, right? And then I have to forcibly move it past it. But if I just kind of drag it and drop it close, it'll just snap to the edge, right? So that's what that is, and how sensitive it is. So how close you have to get it to an edge, that's what the snap sensitivity is. All right. And then, you know, snapping it to other sources, snapping to the edge of screen, all those are self-explanatory. The rest of these settings, as you get into these, none of these are really going to affect your stream. All right. Now, preview. So what this will do, hide overflow, overflow always visible, show overflow even when source is invisible. So what those do, all right, is this source here, you see how it's larger than where I've got it on screen, right? So in the preview, which when you go into studio mode is your one on the left, in the preview, it shows you how much of the source is over the edge. If you have that off, it will not show that, all right? It'll only show you the part that is on screen. So it'll basically show you the exact same thing that you have on the program monitor, which is the one on the right, all right? Now, getting into those studio settings, the studio mode settings, all right, this is an important one. There's two ways to transition between scenes in studio mode. The first way is to have transition when double clicked unchecked, and then the only way that you're able to do it is with the transition button. All right, that's the only way to do it. Or if you have a switcher Stream Deck type thing and you can set up that a button will change the output on the program monitor to X scene, right? The other way to do it is transition to scene when double clicked. So what that will do is now whatever scene you single click on is going to show up on the preview monitor, and then anything you double click on will then show up on the program monitor. So now what that allows you to do is, okay, I need to make some changes to this scene before I go live. Put this one up on the screen, let me make my changes, and then I can go to the one that I wanted. All right, super, I mean, once you understand what it does, it's super easy. I have mine always set to double click. I do have a switcher, but I still have it set to double click because sometimes I'm in OBS and it's just easier to double click on the next scene that I need. All right. And then multi-view, it's not something that I personally use. That's something that you're going to use more often when you are not on camera. It's way easier to use when you are not on camera. And what multi-view does is it gives you a panel of all of your scenes. All right. And then whichever scene you've clicked on, that will be the one that's going out to the program. All right. Let me see. I don't even remember how to. Here it is. All right. So this is what multi-view looks like. Instead of giving you a list of scenes, it gives you a window of scenes. Does that make sense? And then again, you double click on it, and that's what it goes to. All right. So let's get out of multi-view, get back into the settings menu. And this is when we're going to get into the ones that really are important for you and the quality of your stream and the way your stream is going to look for the audience. All right. So the stream settings, this is just where you set up what service or what platform your stream is going to go out to. All right. If you're multi-streaming, you would put this into whatever multi-stream software you're using. That will be something that I cover in a separate video, how to exactly set up streaming on multiple platforms. But here, simple. I'm on YouTube currently. This particular profile is set up to stream to my Twitch channel. So, you know, you got a drop down menu. You just pick it, what service you're going to use. All right. And there are ones other than this that aren't in this menu. You just click show all. It gives you an entire list. But these are the main ones. So you click Twitch. All right. I am connected through my Twitch account. So with Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, I believe, and as well as Restream, if you're using Restream, it allows you to connect to your account. And then it's as easy as pie. You don't even have to do anything other than that to make sure that you're streaming to your channel. All right. If you don't do it that way, the way to do that, so if you're not connecting with an account, all right, you're going to need your stream key from your account. Now, I'm not going to show you how to find your stream key only because if I show you how to do it, then you will have my stream key and will be able to stream onto my channel, which is not a good thing. All right. So all you do, you copy and paste your stream key into that, and then you can do one of two things. If you have a good enough internet connection that the recommended stream settings for a service do not matter, you can leave that unchecked. But if you don't, you need to check ignore streaming service setting recommendations so that it doesn't automatically get bumped whenever you're using it. And you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. All right. So then we're going to move to your output settings. All right. This is what it's going to look like, or what is going to happen for all of the things that OBS is outputting. whether that's the recordings on your computer, whether that's your actual stream, anything that is going out from OBS, the main settings are set here. All right. So I always change this from simple to advanced so I can see everything. All right. Now you're streaming. There's two different ways you can stream, and it all depends on your hardware. Okay. So with your hardware, if you have a dedicated GPU, all right, that's when you would go to NVIDIA, NVENC, the H.264, especially if you have a newer one. If you have an older one, an older graphics card, go with the legacy H.264, okay? If you do X264, X264 is going to do what's called software encoding, which means all of the encoding and decoding will be done by your processor on your computer. All right. So your computer will not share the load. It's going to put all of the load on your processor. Whereas you use NVIDIA NVENC or the AVC NVENC, what it'll do is it will split the load, and games, any other software that you're running will all get dealt with by your processor, and all of your graphics and any decoding and encoding will get done by your graphics card. All right. So make sure you select the proper encoder. Ugh, sorry. I'm having a brain fart, y'all. All right, so let's go back to 264, or actually let's go to NVENC, just because a couple other things are going to pop up that if you have a new graphics card, which I think most people do, especially if you're streaming and built a newer PC, you're going to have an NVIDIA graphics card with the Turing encoders, so it will apply to you. All right, so sorry, I missed one very, very crucial thing. All right, moving back up. So this is something useful that OBS did that allows you to separate your audio in your recordings. All right, and why this is important, or how you would do this, I'll get to when I get to the next tab here in output. But whichever track you pick here is going to correspond, when we get to the audio settings, to the audio track, or anything playing on that track will get recorded and baked into your recording. All right. Anything not on that track will not get added to your recording. All right. And then if you do Twitch VODs, what it's allowed you to do is when you bring in Twitch soundtrack into OBS, it allows you to basically not use Twitch soundtrack in your VODs and mute Twitch soundtrack, and only use your voice to the VODs that go to your Twitch channel. All right. It's just, it's something helpful that Twitch is or OBS kind of worked with Twitch to kind of help with the copyright DMCA strikes that we were all facing and all kind of struggling with, because they didn't really know what to do. All right. Now, this is where we're going to talk. This is going to be the big moneymaker for the quality of your stream. All right. Your bit rate. Now, your bit rate is, it's dealt with by two things, really. And the main one is your internet connection. How much can your internet connection handle? Excuse me. If you've got a lower quality internet connection, you're going to have to lower your bit rate. And what that will do is it's going to lower the overall quality of your stream. What I mean by that is it's going to cut frames. So when your stream is outputting, what your computer is going to do is say, okay, every 10th frame, cut it out so that we're sending less data over the internet. or if you lower it even more, it'll be every, 10th or every 5th and 10th frame, or every 3rd, 6th, and 9th frame, whatever the permutation that it does to determine how many frames it has to cut in order to send out a signal at the appropriate bit rate. All right. So for YouTube, the recommended bit rate is 3,000 kilobytes per second. For Twitch, the recommended bit rate is 6,000 kilobytes per second. All right. You do not have to stream at those settings in order to stream, but just understand that the quality and the latency of your stream is going to be affected by that. All right. So we've got this set for Twitch, so we'll just set it at 6,000. I'm not actually going to stream, but that's what we would use. All right. You used to have to set this at a lower rate if you were going to increase your audio bit rate. Your audio goes out at a completely separate bit rate. Okay. So let me save that real quick. Let me go into audio. All right. So audio output, this says where your audio tracks are going to record. It should match where your video, or sorry, this is your video. Sorry. This is where your videos are going to go when you record them if you're recording while streaming. Now, this is what I was talking about, separating out your audio. Here, where you've got the different audio tracks, if you put your voice on track 1, your music on track 2, game audio on track 3, your teammates on track 4, what you can do is then, only have your voice, your game audio, and your teammates in your recording. It will not record your music. All right. So if you're using music that you're not really sure if you can use, that's one way. When you're going to put VODs up, that's one way to do it. All right. Then the only thing with that though is, in order to have that separated audio, you have to record in MKV format. Now, that's not a big deal. It's not a problem, because once you record, you can do something called remuxing, which is basically translating all of that footage into an MP4 file, and then it'll give you an MP4 file. When you bring it into whatever editing software you're using, it'll bring in an MP4 file, and then however many audio tracks that you have separate. But you have to originally record it in MKV, all right? And you can't edit MKV in Premiere, maybe in some of the other editing softwares. Premiere is what I use. And you can't use it, you can't edit MKV in Premiere, so you have to remux it before you can edit it. But it does not affect the separate audio tracks. That's why I love it. All right, and that's what I use, actually. I have all my audio separated onto separate tracks, and then I delete what I want if I'm ever going to put a clip on YouTube. I haven't done it yet, but I have the ability to if I want to. All right, now going into audio. This is where it's going to, what bit rate is each track going to go out at? All right, and then to get into that, all right, before I go too far into that, I'm gonna go into audio just so we can talk about audio bit rates. All right, so this is your entire audio setup. All right, now you see down here all these different audio sources that I have. All right, the one you don't see is a microphone. All of these audio sources are the different sources that I have in the scene. Each scene will get an audio source when you bring it into OBS, all right? But if you're trying to bring your microphone in, or your desktop audio, or your browser or anything, all right, the way you do that is you come into the settings menu, you click this drop down menu, and then you pick whatever it wants to be. If it's a microphone, it'll be on the microphone settings. All right. If it's desktop audio, so say I want anything going out to my speakers to also go out through my stream, right? So speakers, although not RTX voice, it would be the Realtek speakers. All right. So now I've got my microphone going in. I also have my desktop audio going into my stream. Now, going down, your monitor device is going to be whatever, if you turn something on monitor, whatever you want it to play through. I don't normally monitor anything through OBS, but it could be your headphones, it could be speakers, it could be anything you want. All right. And then this is where you could set up audio hotkeys. So if you want to mute something with a hotkey or push to talk, or, you know, whatever you want done, this is where you would do it. This is how you set up those hotkeys. All right. So let me go back into output, audio. Okay. So here in audio, where's that? Yeah. Okay. So in audio, this is when you gotta kind of swap back to simple. All right. So when you're in simple, all right, you see this audio bit rate. Now, what it used to be is your audio bit rate would be subtracted from your video bit rate and your total bit rate output. So if you did 6,000 kilobits per second and 160 for your audio bit rate, you would actually only be putting out 5,840 kilobytes per second for video, and then that 160 left over would be put out for audio. Now it's actually separated. So when you output, you'll be outputting 6,000 kilobits per second video and 160 or whatever. So I use 256 because it just gives me a higher quality without maxing, but you can go all the way up to 320, I believe. All right. And that's the highest quality audio that you're going to get. Now, then if you go into, sorry, let me do this. Now, oh, and also keep in mind, that's for every single track that you have separated out in OBS. All right. But then if you go into advanced, all right, you can actually separate out the audio bitrate for each of your tracks. So if you've got your game audio and you're like, I don't really need to worry about game audio going through to the stream perfectly, you can lower the bitrate on that and then raise the bitrate on your voice. And then, you know, maybe raise the bitrate on your voice and your music. That's totally something you can do. Hold on, let me close that. That's totally something that you can do if you go into this more advanced. I use the more simple part just for my audio bitrate, just because I only care that it's 256. I mix everything together myself, volumes and everything. So what is already going into OBS is exactly the way I want it going out. So then going back into audio, all right? So the decay rate here, I always use fast, because what that does is it just shows you in real time your levels, all right? And then your peak meter, all right? You can use sample peak or higher true peak. So sample peak is what it's going to do is whatever the decibel rate that you set as 100% as your of your meter, it's just gonna read at that. So a lot of people are like, they'll come into their first stream and they'll have really low audio, and the reason for that is because in OBS it looks like you're peaking because you're in the red all the time, but in reality you're not, because the red is just the normal level in OBS. All right. But if you go to True Peak, which will use your CPU a little bit more, it'll give you an actual, like, more accurate, like, it'll expand that level meter out a little bit, and your red will then be higher than what you actually are. All right. But if you understand that using OBS, I would just go with what's going to affect your CPU less, because then your game's going to be high quality. You're going to have a little bit less load on your computer. And that's what I would use, to be completely honest. All right. And then again, I told you hotkeys for the audio, and we're going to go into video. Now, this is something that can be kind of tricky. All right. So, your basic canvas resolution. If you want to lower your bitrate, this is a way to do it. All right. You can lower your base canvas resolution to 720, and then you can up your output and leave your output at 1080. All right. Then leave all this alone. Leave your frame rate at 60 frames per second. All right. Especially if you're going to be gaming. If you're not going to be gaming, you can lower that. If you're just going to be doing like more broadcast stuff, like live podcasting, things like that, you can lower it to 30 or 24 frames per second. But if you're going to be gaming, you need to have it at 60, because the output for your consoles and your games are at 60 frames per second. All right. So you just do that. Now, what that's going to do, you're going to see it as it changes. All right. You're going to see it on my previews, right? Because when I created these and I moved everything to the way I wanted it, I had it done at 1080p. So all you got to do, you go in. So let me first do my nested webcam, and then you go ahead and transform fit to screen. Okay, that didn't do what it was supposed to. Oh, webcam border, sorry. And then fit to screen. Boom. All right. And then it's back to the normal size. And then you can do the same thing here. Image, transform. All you got to do is just go back through and fit to screen. So the best thing to do is do this from the jump. Have that set before you start creating your scenes. All right. And then it'll move this back over. Boom. Just like that. Game capture. You're going to have to fit that back to screen. And then once everything is back to normal or set. So if you do this before you start, you won't have to do what I'm doing right now. But my computer can handle 1080p encoding. So that's why I have everything at 1080p. Fit to screen. And then same, you just move this back in, boom, and then you can adjust that to whatever size you want it. Boom, put it up there, boom, and there you go. And you'll see that it still looks the way it looks on my program screen, and that's because nothing that you change on the preview screen happens on the program screen until you double click. There is a way to change that, and it is in the settings. All right. Actually, I believe it's in. I forget where it's at exactly. I forget where it's at. I will figure out where that setting is at, and I'll put it in the comments below once this live stream is over. All right. So now that we've got our video set, just remember frame rate 60 frames per second, unless you're doing something more broadcasty, podcast, something that doesn't include gaming. If you're not gaming, you can drop that down, and that will help with your bit rate. It will help with your video quality. It'll help if you have this like stutter in your stream. It'll kind of help with that. So those are the big settings. We can talk about hotkeys. I don't use any hotkeys for my keyboard because I have a Stream Deck. So I set up all my macros and everything onto my Stream Deck. But this is where you can literally set any hotkey that you want for any particular any of these particular functions. All right, it's super easy. You can start streaming is now Control N is start streaming. Stop streaming is Control N again. And that's it's as simple as that. All right, I'm gonna delete those though. So before, sorry, that's how you delete them. You click the trash can. All right. The reason I'm deleting them is just because I don't want to accidentally hit those hotkeys and have that happen. All right. Now when we get into the advanced settings, nothing here is really necessary for you to touch unless you want to disable your hotkeys in certain situations, or you want to, you want to set up a stream delay. So what that will do is it will allow you to kind of create a buffer here in the stream, not in it's got nothing to do with the latency of the stream to YouTube. It's a delay that you purposefully put into your stream. All right. And then here's where you can set up automatically remuxing to MP4 once you do a recording. So what'll happen is you'll stop the stream, it'll end the recording, finalize the save recording, and then automatically remux your MKV file and put it in the exact same folder that your MKV file is in. So that then all you have to do is just pull it in to whatever your video editing software is, edit, and there you go. You've got your VODs, clips, or whatever you want to use them for. All right. And then also the way your files are named, I just leave them the way they are, because it's not that hard to understand how they're named. It's year, month, day, hour, month, hour, minute, and then second is when the recording ends, I believe. All right. And that is it really for settings in OBS. I can go in and do some more specific settings videos if there's a more specific setting that you want, but those are the optimal settings for OBS. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to open it up for questions. If anyone has any questions, if they want me to cover something again or cover something maybe a little bit more thoroughly, I went too fast, just hit it up, streamelements.com/Burkmade/tip. Give me your questions. Give me give me what you got for your technical difficulties. Let me know what you're struggling with. What are you having problems with? And if it's something I can't cover right this second, you know what I'll do? I will make an entire video on it. That's what I will do, is I will make an entire video for your technical difficulty, because that's the best way to do it, is find out what are the problems that people are actually having and fix those problems. Because I can't really use the technical problems that I have, because most of those problems are singular to my setup. They're singular to the way that my equipment functions. So that they're not going to be great for helping you guys and helping you with your technical difficulties. What I want to kind of aim for are these broad topics that everyone seems to have a problem with. All right. So get those questions in, streamelements.com/Burkmade/tip. And while I wait for you guys to do that, I'm going to go ahead and knock out all the plugs and all the stuff that I need to get out of the way. So like I said before, you can find me every Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday on my Twitch channel. It's down in the description below, twitch.tv/Burkmade. You can find me anywhere and everywhere on the internet at Burkmade. You can find me working on a few shows throughout the internet on the SEN YouTube channel. That's the Schmodown Entertainment Network. You can find me tonight on the Let's Get Ready Network Twitch channel doing a watch along of Star Wars Rebels. I believe we're in season 2. I think we start season 2 tonight. You can also actually find me tonight on Twitch for a special broadcast of me playing Star Wars Squadrons with my good friend Sean Sullivan and the man who created these sweet beats, David B Music. You can follow him on Twitch, David B Music 21, and you can find his album Sunday Beats Volume 1 on anywhere you find music. That's Amazon, iTunes, Spotify. Just search David B Music or Sunday Beats Volume 1 and you'll find it, and you can listen to what I'm listening to right now and what's playing in the background. You can also find me on the PJ Campbell Network every last Tuesday of every month for Book Nook. This past January we did the Ruins of Gorlan with my co-host Maxwell Haddad and guest Sean Sullivan. We did the Ruins of Gorlan, the first book in the Ranger's Apprentice series, and then this month we will be doing Children of Blood and Bone with my co-host from Desert Men Live, Aiden Cossack. And then you can also find me on the PJ Campbell Network every Saturday at noon on the PJ Campbell Water Cooler Chat, where we've been doing WandaVision reviews. I imagine when Falcon Winter Soldier, we'll be doing those reviews. We did Mandalorian reviews when Mandalorian was airing every week. So we kind of just talk about whatever's topical, whatever's going on in the world. And the last thing I'm going to plug is the other shows on this channel. If you're already here, please do me a favor. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm almost halfway to 100 subscribers so that I can get that custom URL and I don't have to give weird numbers and letters out when people ask what my YouTube channel is. I could just say it's youtube.com/c/bergmade. But I can't do that until I get 100 subscribers. So please, if you haven't already, like, subscribe. Now, I mean, fuck it. Dislike if you don't like the video. Fuck it. I don't care. Just interact with the video, please. Leave a comment once I'm off the air. And also, check out the other shows on this channel. I've got Saturdays Are For, which last month we only did one because I still got the other Saturdays Are For in the works. But it was Saturdays Are For Anime, and we talked about my single favorite season of anime, which is Darker Than Black. And we also have every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, Desert Men Live with myself and my co-host Aiden Cossack, where we just talk about entertainment news, social news, whatever's going on in the world, and we just kind of shoot the shit with ourselves, and then every once in a while we have some guests pop in. So please check it out. If you like it, come back. If you don't, I mean, I'm sorry, but our shows are what they are and we love them, and that's why we do them. So let me go see if we got any questions, got any input, anything anybody wants me to hit up today specifically. And it looks like we got nothing. So thank you everyone who watched live. Thank you everyone who's liked the video so far. Thank you everyone who's supported me. Thank you for everyone who will support me in the future. Please come back next week for another episode of Technical Difficulties. And you know what? Go to my Twitter. I asked on Twitter, what are some of the technical difficulties that I should be covering? If you got something, let me know. You can let me know there. You can let me know on Instagram. You can join my Patreon and give me a suggestion on Patreon. If you are a patron, there is a tier where I'm guaranteed to do a show on your technical difficulty. So thank you again. And until next time, here's the show.